Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kirsty, and this is our podcast, Love Needs No Words.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Love Needs No Words. Kirst, you've just come back from holiday. How was it? Cannot wait to hear all about it.
We are fresh back from a week in the Peak District, and we had a great time.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Such a good time. And Max, well, both of them, but Max really, really enjoyed it and had a great holiday. So loads of positive things to talk about today.
Amazing. So what were the elements of the holiday that he loved?
Loads of things, actually. We did a lot of different things. I think one of the great things about the Peak District, and to be fair, we were so fortunate with the weather, and that makes such a massive difference, because keeping Max indoors is really just not his thing at all. He gets very bored very, very quickly. So we have to get him out. And obviously, if it's pouring with rain, that significantly reduces what we can kind of do with him. So having a week of sunshine was incredible. And I know how lucky we are, because obviously we went away in the UK. So that's not always a guarantee, is it? But yeah, we did so much. We went swimming. One thing I definitely want to talk about is we went to Gulliver's.
Oh, yeah. About this.
Yeah, first time to any kind of theme park or anything really like that, to be fair. So we were a little bit apprehensive about how that might go. Great success. He
good.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it wasn't that busy, which really helped, which I was really surprised about, because it was the school holidays. But I don't know whether it's because it can just absorb a lot of people and it never feels too busy, or whether it was actually genuinely quieter. I'm not sure, but we didn't really have to queue for very much, because I know you've mentioned about getting kind of things in place, which we really need to look into, and actually probably highlighted to us that we definitely, if we were to go to somewhere that's busier, we would need that, because he did really well, but his tolerance in queues is he just gets so excited. He wants to go on the ride. Doesn't quite grasp the concept of queuing. So generally it wasn't really an issue at all, because the queues were really, really small. And yeah, it was brilliant. He absolutely loved it, and he tried everything. So he loved the carousel, and he did the log flume. Yeah, he just tried it all, and he was in his element. I think one thing that really helped is we went away with family this time. And so we went away with his cousin, who's a little bit younger than Max is. And they've got to a point where they can be together and kind of like on a social level. So going with him, I think, really helped as well, because they kind of egged each other on in a certain way, which was really nice, and kind of kept him entertained, I think, when we were in the queues as well, which was good. But yeah, no, he absolutely loved it. So that'll be us now. We'll be at Legoland. We're going to go to the Milton Keynes one. I just really thought that maybe, I suppose it goes back to what we were saying previously about just trying these things, and then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I understand why you would be apprehensive. I mean, that was totally us. We are and were in that boat. But yeah, no, this was a big
surprise, you know.
Yeah, massively. So yeah, big tick. So we really enjoyed it. We had a great day out, and we didn't take Eva, which I think helped as well, because she wouldn't have enjoyed it. There wasn't really anything for her to be able to do. So I think him having some one-on-one time really was nice for him as well, because he doesn't get a huge amount of that.
No, and I think that's really important, because we took Alex out of nursery to go to Legoland last time, and it was really nice just to spend the day with him, because like you say, the little ones can take up a lot of time. You don't get that quality time with them as much as you used to. So yeah, going somewhere like that is a really good shout. So where you stay, because I know many people listening, and I'm always looking for places to stay. So was the complex quite not overwhelming for him, because obviously that's a big thing for Max, so it must have been relatively quiet for him to have had such a great time.
It was, and it was similar to where we've kind of stayed previously when we've done UK breaks, in that it's self-catering, we can kind of do our own thing. The only difference being, and I think probably what we missed in comparison to other holidays that we've been on in the UK, was having a pool there. A pool massively helps because it's kind of just an activity that you can do with them every single day, and Max loves being in the water. So I think we slightly missed that. However, so we stayed really close. It was kind of halfway between Buxton and Bakewell. So there was still loads of things that we could do, and we just took them swimming to one of the local swimming pools instead. But I think we do value having a pool and a few more facilities on site, like an outdoor play area. So I think we were fortunate because the weather was so good that they could just get out, and I'd taken a few bits and pieces. One of Max's lovely friends had bought him a rocket game for his birthday. I don't know if Alex has used one of these, but they are great.
Oh,
Literally, it's kind of an inflated part on the end, and then you put these foam rockets on, and you jump on the inflated part, and the rockets just fly up.
That's brilliant.
And obviously, it's quite repetitive, and it's novel. So I took that with him, and they were loving that. So it didn't really matter, but I think definitely if the weather had been worse, we would have really missed that. But it was so peaceful, so tranquil, and just it worked really, really well. The only thing that didn't work was that Eva has got to an age where she cannot share our bedroom anymore.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good at all. She was up so early every single morning, like 5:30, which is just brutal when you've got kind of, let's be honest, children of this age going on holiday, whilst lovely, is not relaxing. It's full on, isn't it, for the whole time? It's almost more full on than when you're at home because they're not in nursery.
Of course it is, and they've not got all their things around them. Yeah.
So definitely one to remember for us for next time. But no, I would definitely recommend it. That kind of holiday works really well.
Yeah, I need to have the link for this place. That sounds great. It's so nice when someone's been somewhere and they can say, look, this is really great, or you stay in this area but find somewhere with a pool. You know, I think now that's what I'm doing. I'm literally going places people have been, because you pay so much money if you go somewhere and it's a disappointment.
I know.
It's awful, you know, when you go abroad and you're sat on the bus and you're waiting to turn up at your hotel and you're like, oh God, please don't be that
like the in-betweeners.
like the in-betweeners. This was us on holiday, and it was just John and I before Alex, and I remember he turned to me and he was like, oh no, it's not here. And I was like, well, you book it next time. And it was the anxiety of, I don't think it is, I hope it's not. And then you pull away and you're like, oh yeah,
thank God. No, it was really lovely. Really nice. So we had a great time.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm so pleased.
I've got so much to talk about. I found some really great places and things to do up there as well. So if anyone's going to the Peak District, there's some really fun things. But I mean, following on from what we were talking about last week in terms of things that, you know, they weren't doing 6 months ago, the change and the progress in Max in terms of being able to just be around his cousin and the bond that they've got was so lovely to see.
I bet.
It was brilliant. We were just really surprised, I think, considering where we'd kind of been at Christmas. They just get on really well now, and it's really lovely to see. And you can kind of you can see that bond really starting to form, which is lovely for us because we don't tend to see that with Max, you know, replicated in kind of friendships. So it's really lovely to see that it's there. So yeah, that was really, really nice to see. Probably one of the highlights for me from the holiday.
Yeah, that will be a game changer for me when Alex can sort of socialise on that level where he can kind of even just follow them around. So he's sort of less on his own. Yeah. We had recently actually his cousins give him hugs all the time now. So they'll be like, Alex, can I have a hug? And it's even that, it's like seeing that connection there, which wasn't there before. It's amazing. And like you say, it's only 6 months ago that he would very much just want to be in a separate room to everybody. Like being in the same room as everyone was too much. And now be in the room, want to be involved to a certain extent and be hugging his cousins. It's like, you know, 6 months is massive for them. And it's so lovely to see. I'm so glad that happened when he was away. That's lovely.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. We went somewhere and they had it was a really good setup. It was kind of like an estate house, and they've really thought about children, and they had this fountain that they changed into a splash pool, and they'd chucked so many rubber ducks in there. So many rubber
Oh,
ducks.
that's really cool.
Yeah, and you bought a net, and the children went in and they were kind of, catching ducks and stuff. And it was quieter when we arrived. I was like, this is great. But it did get busier, and I just think even 6 months ago, we just wouldn't have been able to even been in that environment. And I didn't feel like I had to be like almost next to him the whole time. I could almost, I'm still very alert, and I'm still very aware of where he is and what he's doing. And I think I have to be as a responsible parent, but I could feel like I was a little bit more relaxed, which is nice, really, really nice. And I think it's just testament to all of this work that they're doing with him at nursery, and probably growing up. Yeah, and the fact that he's kind of getting older, I guess, as well, and things that you feel like were never going to be possible, or suddenly you can see it in, whilst it's not all the time every day, you can see glimmers of progress. I think that was really lovely. So all in all, he had a great holiday. I think he got tired a few times. There were points where you could see that he was getting a little bit overwhelmed, but in the general main, he did amazingly.
That's so
I think it's just recognizing as well when they just need a bit of downtime. There was one day where he was just incredibly tired, so we literally put him in the car and just drove, because we knew that he would nap if he was in the car, and he just needed that nap to reset. And then once he'd slept a little bit, he was okay.
I think a lot of it is about that, and we're exactly the same now. So we went out today with some friends, and he did amazingly. And then he got to a point where I could tell he was knackered, and we just thought, well, just sit quietly with our phone for 15 minutes and just completely switch off.
Yeah,
which he did. And then when we said, could we have it back, he went running off again. And we've done that many times. I've just thrown him in the car and said to, if we're at my mum's, I'll pop to the shop and get you something. And he falls asleep straight away.
It's really just time. I mean, a year ago, I just would have dreamt of being in a position where I would have the slightest clue as to why he was doing the things that he was doing. So that's brilliant. And even little things like he mentioned a couple of times that he was really missing flower pots, and nursery, and that he was really missing his key worker. And so we were like, okay, let's go and buy a postcard and let's send it to nursery. So we went to buy a postcard, and we wrote on there that he was having a lovely time and that he was looking forward to seeing them when he came back. And
that's adorable.
Yeah, and so we just put it in the post box, and it was, I think, just something. So because I just thought, actually, he is probably missing his key worker. He spends a lot of time with her, obviously, during the week normally, and that routine is obviously off as well. And whilst he knew, they talked a lot about going to on holiday, and he knew that he was going on holiday as well, so that massively helped. But I thought, let's actually let him feel that emotion.
Yeah, well, great thing to do.
So hopefully they got it. Otherwise he'll be asking them on Monday.
Yeah, I know, it's going to be devastated if they've not got it.
And Eva walked as well, which was really sweet.
That's amazing. So no hands, just
no hands, just a few steps. I think she can maybe do about 6, and she's wobbly, but she's trying. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to break the news that Isabel's doing the same, so of course they're doing it the same.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
It's so nice that they've cracked it at the same time. I think it's like, I don't know about you, it was just bare feet on the grass. There's nothing better than just, they've got this confidence, like, if I fall, this is going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
well done, girls.
Well done, girls.
So, I think it's about to get a whole heap more fun.
Well, yeah, there's no hiding now, is there?
No.
And they can't escape.
And I don't know about with Isabel, but Eva, you can tell, especially this last week, you could really tell that she was desperate to be involved. And it's hard for her at the moment because the age gap between her and her cousin, who's obviously a little bit younger than Max, is too big at the moment. In time it will be nothing, but at the moment it's just that bit too big. And so the boys have something in common and can obviously play and run around and do all of that, but she can't get involved, and she really wants to. And I can see she really wants to. She's so frustrated, but obviously, yeah. So hopefully, but now she's walking. I know, yeah, I know. And I don't wish for it because I really want to keep her young as well.
Yeah, and not moving.
I know, yeah.
Stay where you are. And
exactly.
So it was an absolute hit then, this holiday.
It was probably the most successful holiday we've had in terms of just him being comfortable, I think.
Yeah.
And clearly just actually enjoying it for himself. Definitely. I mean, we've had other holidays which have been lovely, but it's kind of taken him a few days to settle. He settled really quickly. Yeah, and I don't know what particularly was different this time, whether it was just good timing, whether he was well rested, I'm not sure. But yeah, he had a great time. Maybe it was all the sunshine and just excitement. And don't get me wrong, we still had points where it was like, okay, this is a lot. But Jen, you know, he had an amazing time, I think, and I think he'll miss being on holiday. So normally we find it's the day after where he has a bit of a come down from it all.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that'll be tomorrow
for that.
I'm just going to have a very, very easy day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not do anything very exciting. Matt's going to work, so I need to not do too much, really. So just a relaxing one, I think.
Is that what you've kind of learnt the best way to deal with it? Yeah.
Yeah, just not do too much, because actually he's still he will probably be processing the fact, because he was saying that he was missing being on holiday. So just sometimes I think the processing takes a bit of time, obviously, for him to work through what he's thinking. So we might get lucky. I mean, everything might be fine, but I think just a nice relaxed day will help. And then obviously he goes back to a nursery on Monday, so
then back into the routine.
Exactly. Yeah. Tell me about your week. How's your week been?
Well, we've turned a corner now and things are good, but we all came down with that horrible flu everyone's getting.
Yeah. So we all found that at the beginning of the week, so that wasn't ideal.
Yeah, so that's been a bit horrendous, and Alex sort of becomes a bit unrecognisable when he's ill, bless him, sort of very quiet and reserved, and it can sometimes feel like he's going backwards in his progression, which I find really hard to deal with sometimes. And then because he can't tell me what's wrong, that's hard. But do you know what? This was the first time that he cried when I said he was going to nursery, and he put my hand on his head to show me he was hot.
Oh.
And
so he knew that he was feeling really unwell.
And so that was him telling me, I don't want to go because I don't feel 100%. And like a massive step forward in his communication, which can only be a good thing. And it was only this is the end of the week after feeling a bit better. Nursery said he's back to me when I arrived. So, you know, like he's been away whilst he's ill, and that because he's just not himself, bless him. But, so all good now in our house. But yeah, we all came down with it. So Isabel was sort of up in the night coughing, and then we got it. So so it was sort of coming out the back of all of that now. But yeah, I think that when you do notice it as well when they're not well, and they can't tell you what's wrong, and they sometimes can act out, and that's obviously what Alex used to do, and I think something's not quite right. But yeah, for him to show me that he wasn't very well was massive, and just so helpful, like really helpful. And like we've just keep saying to him, like, could you pick this up for mummy? Can you pick that up for mummy? And they do nursery this bucket time, autism attention, something like that. And it's like focus time where Alex has to, at the moment, he's focusing on singular words. And, you know, with our busy lives and stuff, I really try and make time in the morning. We read his social story now every morning, which his school dropped off, which is adorable and really helpful because it's preparing him. But alongside that, I just get a puzzle out with different animals, and I'll say dog, and he has to put the dog in. But the problem is Isabel's there now, and she wants to do everything that Alex is doing. And then that puts him off. Sometimes he thinks, oh, I can't be bothered with this. He'll go off and try and do something else. And if John's working, it's just me there with the two. So suddenly thought I could use this newfound thing that he's doing to work on words. So I threw today just like a toy dog down, a bucket, like random things. And I was like, Alex, could you pick up the dummy for mummy? So he did that and put it in Isabel's mouth as usual. Could you pick up the dog? Could you pick up the bucket? And I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is me practicing words. So I'm just going to keep doing that now. And his little face when he picks it up is like, he's so proud of himself. Yeah, because it's a way for him to kind of interact with me, but also he's really proud of like what he's achieving. So yeah, I discovered this week that that's a really good way to kind of practice his words as well. So that's been useful. But something I've noticed that he's doing, which he never used to do, and people listening might be able to relate to this, and I don't really know why. He sometimes takes clothes off in protest. So if he's usually if he's annoyed, so like usually a child would have a toddler tantrum, walk off, he will take his top off. So, and I don't know if that's just something children do, but the nursery's picked up on it as well. Sometimes I'll pick him up from nursery and he hasn't got a top on, and it's like, oh yeah, he took his top off, and it's usually because he's got annoyed and taken it off. So yeah, not ideal when you're about to leave the house.
No.
Yeah,
but obviously his way of showing like, I'm frustrated or I'm annoyed, his way of kind of having some control over that.
And I think that is 100% what it is. So that's been interesting. And he tried to do it the other morning, and I think he was just tired, and I tried to put this T-shirt on him, and I really do try not to get angry, because, you know, you start to think, well, maybe it's a sensory issue, maybe it's the top. So John and I sort of went through like 5 other tops, and I think he just wanted to wear his Spider-Man pajama top. But again, because he can't say that, but that is such typical behaviour. It's like, no, I just want to wear this one. But in the end, I was like, just wear this top enough now. And I put it on him and he didn't say another word. So again, getting angry or not, whether that was the right thing, but he understood that I'd got to my limit and I'd had enough now. Now, I never a year ago would think he would understand that. And if I'd done that a year ago, I wouldn't have got the response that I got. He would have just carried on, because he wouldn't have understood that I'd had enough. So yeah, that was really interesting. And then nursery have said to me that his following direction there now is brilliant. You know, some children, they have to ask 3 or 4 times to do something, and they only have to ask him to do it once. And yeah, I'd never thought that would be possible, but it's that whole following routine thing, isn't it? He just gets so much out of having a bit of routine every day and knowing what he's doing, and yeah, you know,
them. Yeah, and he trusts you as well. And actually, like you say about not getting angry, and I know where you're coming from with that, totally. But also, there is a time and a place where you want them to understand that you know, your tone of voice means something. I don't know if they're in danger or whatever, because we have a slight concern in that Max doesn't always understand danger. So sometimes he will, and sometimes it will just not be in his mind at all. So he can run across car parks. And even if I sometimes even if I use that kind of tone of voice where I'm obviously panicked because he's running out, he doesn't respond to that. So it's really good actually that Alex does respond to you when you're obviously, you know, he understands that it's not the same normal typical conversation.
Yeah, and we really have taken that for granted, because he will wait by the car door until you tell him to move, and I think that's John's kind of stern voice that he's used since he was little. But yeah, he will not move until you tell him to move. And yeah, he understands when we're angry now. You know, it's before he wouldn't have understood the difference between me being annoyed and just having a general conversation. And even today, as I said, his new thing is picking flowers. He was classic doing it in the garden this afternoon. And I said, Alex, there'll be no flowers left. And he turned around and laughed. And I thought, oh, right, you 100%,
He understood.
you cheeky, yeah, you're going to know what you're doing, and you know that this is naughty, but it's like a compulsion, because I'm like, Alex, and then he's in hysterics, and then he's like, trying to get the next one. But yeah, and that is amazing, because he's obviously understanding now that, and like understanding humour as well, which I never thought would be possible. That's funny. I'm going, no, and he's giggling along. So it's understanding the different tones of my voice as well. But yeah, it's amazing. And actually, since having Andrea on, and her saying she's come to terms with the fact that Oliver might never speak, I don't think I'm there yet. And I really do feel like Alex has got words, and I'm starting to hear them. It was really nice to hear that, because I've sort of said to myself, if in the next year and a half he doesn't, nothing really changes at school, I think I'm just going to have to take a bit of a step back and be like, look, it is what it is. Instead of putting so much effort in all the time and trying to do as much as possible, which is natural.
Absolutely.
I think it will be healthy for me to take a big step back if, like, in a year's time, still not many words. And I know there'll be people listening being like, no, don't give up. And it's not giving up, because I think it will happen if it's meant to happen. But I think I put so much emphasis on it, and I get so stressed about it and dream about him talking all the time, that I think if I can bring myself to sort of come to terms with it by kind of putting a date in my head, I think that will really help me.
Yeah, find some peace with it.
Yes. And it will be interesting when we have different guests on to discuss with them about speech. The thing for me is, I think understanding does come before speech, which is why I'm so hopeful, because I genuinely believe a child has to understand before they can speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was told with Max as well.
Yeah.
My sister's a speech and language therapist, and she said exactly that. The understanding it comes before. The words are almost the last point.
They've just got to be really careful, because they can't say for sure.
No, absolutely. No, because they don't have a crystal ball, and at the end of the day, they know all the interventions that they can put in place to assist and try and help and support, but they can't magically make your child speak.
No.
As difficult as that is, but you know, everything you're doing is giving him the best, the best fighting chance with the natural abilities that he has.
Yeah, absolutely. But we went swimming again, and honestly, his confidence in the water is amazing, and that's just from going more regularly. I mean, he was swimming around with armbands, and John and I weren't anywhere near him, and he was swimming towards us. So I was going to speak to you about swimming lessons, because, I mean, we might just carry on going as we are, but has Max started doing the swimming lessons, and how have they gone?
No, so he hasn't started yet. The reason being that, so he's been doing a gymnastics class, which I've mentioned before, and he currently does that did do that on a Tuesday, but because he's going to school in September, we've been waiting to find out what day he would be allocated a class for on the weekend. So we didn't know whether it would be Saturday and Sunday, and the swimming lessons that he is going to go to is run on a Saturday, and I didn't want him to have two active. It would just be too much to have a gym class and then straight away a swimming class afterwards. So,
and these are Send swimming lessons, aren't they?
Send swimming lessons. And I spoke to the owner, who was just brilliant, and so they run those on a Saturday, and he's been allocated a Sunday. So he'll start. Obviously, didn't want to start as well before we came back from holiday. So they have space. So watch this space. I think we're definitely keen to start him, because he loves swimming and he loves being in the water, but the lessons that he had previously just didn't work for him at all. He needs someone to go in with him, because again, it's kind of this anxiety, and when he knows he's got someone with him that he trusts, that anxiety calms down hugely. But it's definitely still something that he battles with. So which
So can you go in
surprising that
with them for that?
Yeah, and that's the biggest.
Brilliant.
That was the biggest difference, because I've not found any swimming lessons for his age.
Yes.
Where elsewhere where you can go in with them. So that's just something that's important for.
I might look into this then, because I think it's just natural to want your children to do a club or something, and you know, we really keep trying with the bikes and the scooters, but it's like he's too anxious to do it. Where the swimming is something that he's quite clearly really enjoying and getting a lot out of. And if we can crack swimming, you know, my dad's never swum, and he's in his 60s, and he always says, I regret not learning how to swim.
Yeah.
You know, and if
my father-in-law, he's just it's exactly the same.
Yeah, and if we can teach them that skill, you know, that I'd feel really proud of ourselves, you know. And already the fact that he's got this confidence in the water, I mean, he's doing a lot of the work, but it would be lovely to get him confident doing that. And also climbing's his thing. So John said I might look in to see if there's even like he'll take him climbing, but there might even be again a class that, you know, for send children for climbing. But, you know, even if he's got a couple of skills that he gets good at, that's amazing, isn't it?
It's just channeling what they're driven by, isn't it? And what they're interested in, and this is it.
And diving in and doing what you can to build on that.
Exactly. And having fun, and just finding a way around it that works for them as well. Because, you know, watching him in the swimming classes that he went to, he hated it. It just really wasn't enjoying it at all. And he was very stressed. He didn't want to go. He was telling us beforehand, I don't want to go to the swimming lessons. Exactly. So it just wasn't working. But actually, you know, we've taken him swimming since number of times, and he loves it. So it's not swimming. It was just that environment that he just didn't feel comfortable in at all. So we'll give something else a try and hope that works. I really feel like I want him to learn to swim, because it's such a lovely thing to be able to do. You know, even if it's not not specifically for a club, but just to be able to enjoy being in the water, even when you go on holiday and stuff.
Well, just to do that, they're confident in the water. You know, that will be, if, you know, say Alex never speaks, to know that he can go swimming confidently, and I can sit and watch them on the side. You know, what a lovely thing to be able to do for him and for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, channeling, like we said, something that they're feeling that they're confident in, and doing what you can to sort of keep helping with that.
Yeah,
so
you can do it as a family, which is nice as well. What else have you been up to this week?
We're off to Devon on holiday. Really nice to get away again and get down to the beach, and just have a bit of a break away from everything. So I will let you know how that goes.
I bet it will be lovely. I think if your children are anything like mine, they love the beach.
Yes.
One of the places we went had a huge sandpit, and both of them were just really, really enjoying it. Actually, we bought them a sandpit for a joint birthday. They have birthdays at a similar time of year. So we bought them a sandpit, and we've yet to fill it with sand. And I feel like it's probably going to be autumn by the time I get round to filling it with sand. So maybe for next year. But it's such a good activity that they can just do.
Yeah.
And they just enjoyed. They were in there for ages. Just, I guess it's quite a good sensory thing as well.
Yeah. If anyone's got any suggestions, please message us on Instagram, love_needs_no_words, for activities for send children, because I find with Alex, like with the flowers, it's something that he hyper focuses on when we're outside. So sat there today and I was watching Isabel, and she spent, I'd say, a good 20 minutes creating her own game with a water table. And I was jumping in and out during different points of it, but I was just amazed watching her. So she filled the bucket up with stones and then emptied them whilst looking at me and went, oh no, and then put them all back in again. And then she was getting all the different bits in the water table and taking them out and putting them back in. I mean, he never did this. It was just exhausting trying to find anything that he would spend more than like a couple of minutes on before kind of walking off. And you know, we talked about it before, but you start to think like, is it me? Am I just not entertaining enough? We're obviously watching her. I was thinking it's just he just wasn't capable of creating those sort of games in his head. It was yeah. So I'm
motivating at the moment for him.
Yeah, it's just it was like a bit boring.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find something. I'm really umming and ahhing about buying a big trampoline, like a 10-foot trampoline. But my issue is if he doesn't really use it, he used his little one, but that he's got too big for it.
Yeah.
And he goes trampolining with John regularly. So it's like, if I buy the trampoline, will it then not be a novelty going to the trampoline park?
Yeah.
Then I thought about buying one of those spinny things because he loves those at the park, or like a chair, you know, like a swinging chair or something.
Yes.
Which I think he'd really enjoy. So yeah, any suggestions would be great to deter him or to steer him away from the flowers.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even the sandpit, I think she would sit for ages playing in that, and I just don't think he would. I think he would just probably do it for 5 minutes and then walk off.
Yeah, I can really relate actually to that in terms of when Max was younger, and even now. I mean, his attention span is definitely on the sort of shorter side, and it has to be something that he's interested in doing, and there has to be a motivation, which makes logical sense, definitely, but it's definitely harder for us to find those things. He'll try it for a little bit, and then he'll just walk off and want to try and find something else to do. Quite novelty seeking, I guess, in that sense. But again, I think it really helped having his cousin there with him, because I think that helped just elongate the activities that they were playing. Just because I think on his own, he just struggles to have that kind of, you know, like you were saying with Isabel, the creativity, I guess, maybe, to progress whatever it is that he's doing. Like even with a train track, you know, he likes us to help him build a train track, but he will kind of push the train around for a little bit, but then he can't take it any further. Like he wouldn't be able to create a zoo and the train would be going to the zoo, or that it stops at that point. And then obviously he's kind of lost, the attention's gone. So if anyone's got any suggestions of things that they've found to be real successes, I'm definitely all ears for that.
Because that's the problem, is you don't want to spend hundreds of pounds on something and then they just find it boring after a couple of days.
Do you know what? That's actually just reminded me of something. I went to a meeting once with a charity, so a local charity in Hertfordshire, but I'm assuming that there are other charities that probably do the same things across the UK. They have an equipment library, so you can borrow things and to see whether your child likes it, because obviously they understand that these things are really expensive. A lot of this equipment is expensive, and there's no guarantee that your child will engage with it or like it. So you can rent it.
That's a really great idea. Other than that, we must discuss their graduation. They did so well, didn't they?
They did so well, both of them.
I mean, Max more than Alex.
I disagree with you on that one, because I think they both did well.
Well, Alex wasn't keen on sitting still like the others, but that was okay. And do you know what? It was the first time that John and I said to each other on the way back that we didn't look round to see what other parents were doing or what like expressions they were making. So they had to go up and they received a little hat and a little certificate to say what the nursery thought they were going to grow up to be. And Alex was an engineer, which came as no surprise to me because of his opening and closing every single door inside. But it was John and I went and sat up the front with him because we knew he'd feel better if we did that. I went up with him to get his hat and his certificate, and you know, he did really well, and he wanted to give, the teacher asked if they wanted to give her a hug, and he gave her a hug. And it was amazing feeling for both of us to not be looking around and seeing what other people, like expressions other people were making. And it felt amazing actually that we weren't doing that, and that we were just there for Alex, focusing on him, and just really proud of how well he did.
Yeah, and actually all the children did really well, but they were all really different as well. Some of them, were more nervous to go up and wanted their parents to go with them.
It's nice to see, actually.
Yeah, and some of them, wanted a cuddle. Some of them didn't want a cuddle. Yeah. So they were all really different, which was really lovely to see as well. But they all did really, really well, and it was so sweet. And I got really emotional, which I didn't think that I would do, but I was so proud of him, and I wasn't sure whether he'd go up on his own, but he did, and it was massive, and I'm finding it very difficult to think that he's not going to be there in 4 weeks' time.
No, I'm going to be an absolute mess. I'm going to be a mess. We're away for a day this week, and then obviously Devon, and then there's something else we're away for. So actually, it's probably not going to be the full 4 weeks. And before I know it, we're going to have to be sort of. I mean, and luckily the girls are there, so we're still. I know them. I don't know how I would have coped if the girls weren't there.
Normally, and I think it'll be lovely actually for the boys to be able to go back and when we do pickups and stuff, for them to be able to revisit the nursery as well.
Yeah, they did say, they were like, do you think Alex would be like, why am I back here? Am I going to nursery? And I said, yeah, he probably will be a little bit confused at first, but again, he might get to that level of understanding that he knows we're going there to pick Isabel up, and his school's his school.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, it's going to be so emotional. I can't cope.
I know. No, it was so lovely. It was really sweet. They did it in their garden, didn't they? And it was just, it was really lovely actually to see how the children are so bonded with every single one of those people who work at the nursery.
Yeah,
just they're incredible. They're so good.
They really are. I think they're going to be a bit emotional as well when they have to say goodbye to them all.
It must be hard. They must have to do this every single year. They obviously bond with these children, and then off they go. But as they were saying, their job is to kind of prepare them for the next transition, which I thought was really lovely as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was really lovely, and I'm glad that we got to go as well.
Yeah,
and they said Max would be a train driver, which again is no surprise.
I love that
to us because he loves trains. Every time we go and pick his dad up from the train station, he's like, "Can we go down onto the platform?" To go down, and he loves all the trains, but he doesn't like the freight train because the freight train is too noisy.
Yeah, that's too scary for anyone.
Too scary. So they pretty much nailed it with Max as well.
Oh, it was so lovely. It really was. So next week we have a guest on, so there'll be more details to come on our Instagram. We've got many great guests lined up, haven't we? Which is very exciting.
Yeah, really exciting. So if you've got questions, we'll obviously we'll put on our Instagram ahead of time who we're going to have on. So if you've got any questions that you want us to speak to them about or get advice on, then please let us know and send us your questions on Instagram.
Love_needs_no-words. We've had so many amazing messages as well to say how much this is helping. So please keep them coming, as we love to read them. And we should read some out actually. But one mum messaged to say that she's struggling to leave the house at the moment because her little one is just having a bit of a tough time and doesn't want to go. So she said the podcast on a cuppa is getting her through. So I thought that was lovely.
Yeah, I'm really glad that that's exactly why we're doing it. So yeah, really really lovely to hear those messages.
Well, thank you everyone, and I'll let you know how the holiday goes, and I will
have a great holiday
next week.
Enjoy. Bye.
Take care. Bye.